Today we're going eco-friendly. We're going to make knot paper towels. They're a great substitute for taking paper out of your kitchenware and they're super easy to make.
So I've got my flannel and I have my pattern. So I want to cut two at the same time. So I'm just going to tuck my pattern to one side for a sec. I'm going to fold my fabric so that my selvages, or the finished edges, sit one on top of the other. And the reason being, your selvages are almost always straight because that's how the fabric is made, but as you can see, the cuts are not always straight. So it's gonna, hopefully we've got enough space. So I'm gonna fit one in here. So we want our grain line to run parallel to our selvage. And normally I would measure from here to the selvage and from here to the selvage and make sure that the distance is the same on either one to ensure that it all lines up correctly. I've just grabbed my tape measure so I can actually show you that. So if I go from the edge here is like not straight, so I'm going to go from the 10 centimeter line and I'm going to go out. So that measures 29 to the edge. Move my 10 up to here. And here it only measures 28.5. So I'm just going to tilt the top of my pattern till it hits 29. And the same, just check again on the bottom to make sure I haven't moved it. I've moved a little bit. Okay. So now we're actually measured up and you can see like it looks crooked to the cut edge and against the fold, but along the selvage it's actually correct. Keeping your grain line parallel to your selvage is a big thing in garment sewing, but if we're going to be learning to sew, we might as well keep all of our skills as good as we can. Okay, so pinning. So for every knot paper towel we're going to need 2. So by cutting it folded, I'm automatically cutting 2. And I'm just pinning my corners. You can use as many or as little pins as you feel necessary. Do use some pins or do at least try and use some weights as well. If you don't have fancy weights, tins of food work great. Okay, so I'm just going to clean away a little bit and then I'm going to be back with my scissors. So I'm ready to cut. And come in from the side. And you want to try and do nice long cuts where you use the full length of your blade each time. Using a long cut makes things a lot smoother. A lot of people tend to try and get their scissors up and do little snappy cuts. It makes the edge look very jagged. Alright, go all the way to the top. Just going to take that away. Spin. Easy cut today, obviously it's just a square, so you can kind of take your time with it and just be nice and smooth and cut it out. So when I've got to a part here where it's getting a bit narrower, I'm holding it flat at the bottom to make sure that the fabric itself doesn't move so that I can keep things nice and stable. Okay, so we're all cut out. We'll move across to the machine and get these finished off. I'm at the machine and I have my knot paper towels all sorted, pinned together. So I've pinned them so that I've got 2 pins along each of the sides and I have the fluffy sides of my flannelette outwards, facing outwards. So I'm going to pop it in underneath the machine. I have the machine set to a straight stitch and we have a 1 centimeter seam allowance here, so I'm going to line it up so it's on the edge of the foot. My needle is in the left hand position, so between the needle here and the edge of the foot I know I've got a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Okay, so I'm just going to get started, do a few stitches of reverse, and then just go along. As we come down to the corner, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn the corner. So we keep coming down. As we get closer to where we think the 1 centimeter mark is going to be, and you can mark this using some chalk or a pencil mark. So we're just going to go down to the 1 centimeter mark. We're going to make sure our needle is in the down position in the fabric, lift our presser foot and spin. By leaving your needle in the down position whenever you turn a corner, you end up with a nice crisp corner. So we're going to come down to the corner again. If you happen to stop where your needle is in the upright position, grab the big hand crank on the side, so the big round circle, roll it towards you until you get lined up to the correct position, lift, spin. Today's make's a fairly easy make. It's not a lot of sewing, but it's a great way to practice your corners and just keeping straight, knowing when to line things up to the edge of your foot or to one of your measurement lines. Just doing something simple like this makes your accuracy a lot better. Okay, one more corner. So when we get back to our starting point, just going to reverse a little, and then we can take out our fabric to the left hand side. Always try and leave a nice long tail of thread here. If you cut it off too short, the next time the needle goes up, it unthreads itself. So just leave a nice tail of thread. It actually makes it easier. I'm just going to use the cutter on the side of my machine, cut my threads, and that we're all joined together. But these edges, these raw edges, they look beautiful now because we did a great job cutting earlier when we made sure we had nice long smooth strokes. But when we wash them, they're going to fray. So we're going to swap to a zigzag stitch. We're going to line our fabric up again. So when we swap to a zigzag, you'll notice the needle is now in a more central position. This zigzag isn't very big. It's so what we can do is line up to the inside of our foot. So you'll see there's a plastic section and then a metal section. So I'm lining up on the inside. If you don't know how wide your zigzag is in comparison to your own foot, do some experiments. Our goal is that our zigzag is close to this edge, but not over the edge. So between the stitch line and the edge, we want closer to the edge than closer to the stitch line because it just helps keep it a bit neater. All right. Just an extra stitch, so I'm just going to pull it out of the way there. So I'm just keeping it nice and straight, feeding it in. You'll notice at the beginning I didn't do a zigzag. There's no need to do a reverse on my zigzag. There's no need to do one. We can lock it off later. Alright, so we're getting down close to the end. I'll do one more, and I'm going to lift and I'm going to spin. So you can see the zigzags in, a little bit in from the edge, nice and neat the whole way along. Alright. Start again. Again, when we get to the corner, get in nice and close, leave the needle in the down position, spin. Zigzagging always sounds pretty noisy on your machine because of the amount of movement, but it's just one of those things, it's just a little noisy. Okay, turn again. So you'll see here I've got a whole bunch of thread, so I'm just going to grab some scissors and clean that up before I get to there, just because it will make everything look a bit neater, and because the zigzags are on the outside of the actual knot paper towel, it just makes it look a bit neater for you. Okay. Going to get down to the corner, do a little bit of a reverse, and you'll see there that it's starting to bunch up quite a bit. Most machines don't like doing a reverse in the zigzag, so if yours doesn't do it, that's okay. You could always pull the threads out nice and long, tie off a knot like as if you're tying your shoelaces down the bottom, and you'd be okay. Alright, so we can snip it off, and we're all done with our sewing.
I enjoyed making one knot paper towel so much, I made a whole stack. Now my kitchen's ready to go paper free and more eco-friendly.